I came home early from my girls' trip to surprise my husband, and now my hands are shaking so badly I can barely type this out. I've deleted and rewritten this post at least 6 times. And I'm currently sitting on the floor of our bathroom, the shower running just so Jordan doesn't hear me cry. Everyone's asleep. And I feel like I'm suffocating in a house that suddenly doesn't feel like mine. Jordan and I just celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary last week. We even renewed our vows at my family's lake house in Chelan. He cried when he read his vows, real tears. Said I was his whole world, his partner for life. He held my hand so tightly I thought my fingers would bruise. My mom said she'd never seen him so sincere. My dad, who rarely compliments anyone, told me Jordan was the best decision I'd ever made. That's what makes this all feel so surreal. The girls' trip had been planned for months. Palm Springs. Just me, Aria, Lena, and Brooke, my college ride or dies. Spa days, hiking, rooftop margaritas. Matching swimsuits and playlists with too much 2000s Beyoncé. But on the second night, Aria got food poisoning from some sketchy ceviche, and Brooke had to fly back early for a work emergency. Lena and I tried to hold it down, but the vibe just wasn't the same. We agreed to cut the trip short by 2 days. So I thought, why not use this as a chance to surprise Jordan? He's always texting me silly selfies when I'm away, saying he can't sleep without me, how the house feels too empty. He even sent me a picture of my pillow with the caption, "This is the saddest pillow in Seattle." It was sweet. Or at least I thought it was. I landed around 5:15 p.m., stopped by his favorite Korean taco spot in Capitol Hill. Grabbed a 6-pack of that obscure spiced rum he's obsessed with, and made my way home with a little grin on my face the entire time. I even pictured his reaction, him throwing his arms around me, lifting me up, that goofy laugh of his echoing through the hallway. I let myself in through the garage with the key code, wanting to make it a full-on surprise. The layout of our house is a little strange. You enter into a hallway that curves around the staircase, so you can't see the living room or the second floor immediately. That's when I heard him upstairs. His voice. Laughing. At first I thought he was on a gaming call. He uses his headset and talks loudly, but I didn't hear the usual clicking from his keyboard. It was just him walking around and talking. I crept closer to the base of the stairs, holding the food bags, trying to decide whether to jump out with a surprise or sneak up behind him. And that's when I heard it. Dude, marriage is such a *****ing trap. If it weren't for Maddie's dad and his hotel empire, I'd have peaced out a year ago. I froze. She's not a bad person or anything, just painfully predictable. But hey, free rent, no bills, and her old man's grooming me for some VP position next year. It's a joke, man. But it works. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. She's got no clue. The vow renewal? Bro, I should have gotten an Oscar. Whole room tearing up while I'm up there feeding her family lines about soulmates and destiny. He laughed. Loud and long. I stood there for what felt like hours. Then I slowly turned, walked back to the garage, dropped the tacos in the trash bin, got in my car and drove. I didn't even cry at first. I just drove. The first tear didn't fall until I pulled into the airport Marriott parking lot and realized I couldn't go back, not yet. And that's when the shaking started. I sat in the hotel parking lot for almost 2 hours, watching planes disappear into the foggy sky, wishing I were on one of them. Anywhere but here. Anywhere but this new version of my life I hadn't agreed to. Eventually, I checked into a room at the Marriott using my company's travel points. The front desk guy asked if I was back from a trip and smiled when I said yes. I smiled too. That was my second lie of the day. The first was telling the girl at the taco place that I had to cancel the order because my husband was sick. I spent the night curled up on the corner of the hotel bed, not even bothering to unpack. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't eat. I just sat there, phone in my lap, staring at it like it might give me answers. I read back through all of Jordan's old messages, every "I miss you already," every heart emoji, every picture of our dog in silly outfits. How many of them were sent with that smug little smirk on his face? At one point I opened our wedding video. Just the first 2 minutes. Just enough to hear him say, "From the moment I met you, I knew I'd found my home." I slammed the laptop shut so hard it bounced off the bed. That night, I dreamed I was drowning in our old honeymoon suite in Maui. The same one where he first whispered he couldn't wait to build a life with me. In the dream, I kept calling his name underwater. But he just stood there, sipping champagne, watching me sink. I woke up at 3:42 a.m., my pillow soaked. The city was dead silent outside. It was just me and the sound of the air conditioner rattling through the vents. I didn't go back to sleep. Instead, I opened a blank note on my phone and started writing down every moment I could remember where something felt off. That time he suddenly got so defensive when I asked about a weekend trip to Spokane. The way he hesitated before introducing me to one of his old college friends at a bar. The night I found a receipt in his coat pocket for a jewelry store I'd never been to, and he brushed it off like it was nothing. All the red flags that I'd folded into origami swans just to keep the peace. By sunrise, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to blow up. Not yet. I wasn't going to storm home, throw his crap on the lawn, and scream at him like in the movies. No. That's what he'd expect someone like me to do. I was going to smile. I was going to go home, unpack like nothing happened, and greet him like the good little, predictable wife he thought I was. And I was going to plan. The way he planned when he got into this marriage like it was a business merger. I booked a flight back to Palm Springs later that morning. Texted the girls and said I'd had to leave because of a work emergency, but I was flying back to join them for the final day. Brooke immediately replied with, "Girl, come back, we saved a seat at brunch and a bottle of rose." I landed, smiled, laughed, posed for selfies, and made it through one more day pretending my life hadn't just exploded. My girlfriends didn't suspect a thing. They still don't. The next day, I flew home at my originally scheduled time. I walked through the front door at 6:03 p.m., suitcase in hand, and called out, "Honey, I'm home." Jordan came downstairs grinning like a Labrador, arms open. I kissed him hello. I kissed the man who had called me a joke, a cage, a walking paycheck. And I smiled. Because he had no idea what was coming. The next 5 days felt like starring in a play where everyone else had the script except me. Except I did have the script now, I just wasn't reading from it anymore. I was rewriting the ending. Jordan didn't suspect a thing. If anything, he seemed extra attentive. He made dinner the night I got back, his signature honey garlic salmon with rosemary potatoes. He even lit candles. I sat there, smiling, sipping wine, listening to him talk about how lonely the house felt without me. The irony nearly made me choke on a bite of bread. "You being gone made me realize how much I need you, Mads." He actually said that. I just smiled and reached for more wine. The next morning, I started my quiet rebellion. I took a different tone when I answered phone calls. No more speakerphone. I stepped into the hallway, lowered my voice, sometimes even shut the door. I casually mentioned over breakfast that my dad had been talking about slowing down on expanding the hotel group, said the market was too volatile lately. Jordan's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Really? Like scaling back? Yeah, I shrugged. He's even reconsidering bringing anyone new into the corporate structure next year. His eyes flicked up for half a second before going back to his eggs. But I saw it. That twitch. That afternoon, I accidentally left my laptop open with my personal banking tab still visible. He didn't say anything, but when I went to grab something from the laundry room, I caught a glimpse of him standing over the screen squinting. Good. Let him wonder. The money had always made him nervous, not because he didn't like it, but because he knew it wasn't his. He liked the lifestyle, the lake weekends, the Michelin-starred date nights. The way people looked at him differently when he mentioned who my father was. But what he hated deep down was the fact that it was borrowed power. So I started pulling it back, bit by bit. I didn't make his morning smoothie. I didn't offer to help when he said the faucet was leaking again. I stopped laughing at his dumb jokes. He noticed. Of course he did. On Wednesday, I called a plumber without telling him. When the guy showed up, Jordan came downstairs looking like he'd just found a stranger in our kitchen. "Thought I said I'd fix it this weekend," he said. I gave him a calm smile. "You seem busy with other things." The plumber charged $95 for a 10-minute fix. And I could practically hear Jordan's brain spinning like a slot machine trying to figure out if I was punishing him or just being unpredictable. Thursday morning, I saw him check our joint account. He didn't say a word, but that same night he brought home Thai food from my favorite place without being asked. On Friday, he texted me 17 times in 1 hour. I'd forgotten my phone in my work tote while out running errands. When I finally called back, I kept it light. "Oh, sorry. Left my phone buried in my purse." "What's up?" "Nothing. Just checking in. You've seemed kind of off lately. Everything okay?" I laughed gently. "Of course. Just a lot on my plate right now." Let him stew in that silence. I've never been great at lying. But turns out, when your heart's already been broken, it's surprisingly easy to pretend. By the end of the week, I'd started sleeping closer to my edge of the bed, turning off the TV earlier, spending longer in the shower with the door locked. I could feel him unraveling, and I wasn't even close to finished. By the end of the first week, I had Jordan exactly where I wanted him, anxious, attentive, and just a little bit afraid. He started doing things he hadn't done in months, taking the trash out without being asked, scrubbing the kitchen sink, folding laundry like it was his full-time job. I'd ask, "What's gotten into you?" And he'd flash that too-white smile and say, "Just want to take care of my girl." It would have been sweet if I hadn't already heard him call me predictable, useful, and his gravy train. That phrase echoed in my head whenever he touched my arm or poured my coffee. I began watching him the way I'd watch a stranger who might steal my purse. Every move, every glance, every pause, everything was data now. He started keeping his phone closer. That was new. At night, it no longer lived on the charging dock in our room. It was always on him, in his back pocket, under his pillow, even in the bathroom. So I looked elsewhere. Jordan had a small desk in the guest room where he used to do freelance training plans before he gave that up. I hadn't checked it in years. One afternoon while he was at the gym, I sat down at it like it was any other piece of furniture. And I found it. A cheap black prepaid phone shoved inside an empty box of protein bars. Classic Jordan. Always hiding big things inside dumb things. It was locked, of course, but taped to the back of the case was a sticky note with 4 numbers. 0723, our wedding date. Because of course it was. The phone had one contact saved. See. Dozens of messages. Most recent one said, "She's acting weird lately. I think she suspects something." Another, "We're still on track. Just 2 more years and we're out." And the one that turned my stomach inside out. The vow renewal was brutal, but she ate it up. Her dad's buying into it too. I took pictures of everything. Every message. Every call log. Every timestamp. Then I placed it all exactly as I'd found it. Box, sticky note, and phone tucked away in their little cardboard coffin. That night he offered to give me a massage out of the blue. I almost laughed. Instead I said, "Sure," and handed him the lotion we used to keep by the bed. I watched him knead my shoulders like he wasn't also kneading the edges of his downfall. The next morning, I started inserting small cracks in the foundation, nothing obvious, just psychological nudges. I left my iPad open to a page titled "Signs Your Husband is Hiding Money." The next day, I printed out a couple of our bank statements showing withdrawals he made labeled consulting, supplies, travel, and left them accidentally on the kitchen table. He saw them. I know because they were slightly off-center when I got back from work. But he said nothing. Instead, that evening he cleaned the entire garage. Cleaned the garage. This man hadn't so much as wiped a windshield in 2 years. That same night, I watched from the kitchen as he scrolled through my iPad while pretending to check the weather. His hands were trembling slightly. When I walked in, he jumped. "What are you looking at?" I asked, keeping my tone light. "Oh, just the weather for the weekend," he said too quickly. I smiled and opened the fridge. "Hope it's nice. Maybe we can take a walk. Clear our heads." He nodded, too hard, too fast. It was working. And I was just getting started. By week 2, the performance had gone from exhausting to surreal. Jordan was now the picture-perfect husband, except I knew it was all theater. A man desperate to keep his mask on as the curtain started falling. That Friday morning he came into the bathroom while I was curling my hair, wrapped his arms around my waist, and whispered, "How did I get so lucky?" I kept my expression soft and said, "You didn't." He chuckled, thinking I was flirting, but I was dead serious. Later that day, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. He said he had an errand, needed to pick up something for his consulting work. He kissed my forehead and walked out with his laptop bag, wearing the same polo he wore when he met my dad for the first time. I gave it 10 minutes. Then I grabbed my keys. I didn't tell him all the way. I just checked the joint account app on my phone and waited for a charge. Sure enough, at 3:08 p.m., a $52 charge popped up, but not from a supply store. It was from a little gastropub across town. One with dim lighting and high booths, the kind of place you meet someone when you don't want to be seen. I drove straight there, parked down the block and walked past slowly with sunglasses and a hoodie. I didn't go in. I didn't need to. Through the window, I saw Jordan sitting in a corner booth, leaning in, smiling, and talking to a woman with short black hair and a wine glass in her hand. She looked familiar. Too familiar. I didn't confront them. I didn't even stop walking. I just pulled out my phone and took 2 quick pictures, heart racing but hand steady. That night, he came home with a bouquet of orange lilies, my least favorite flower. Said they reminded him of my smile. I told him I was touched. He looked relieved. That told me everything. The next day I dug deeper. I opened up a secure drive I'd made with my friend Lena, an encrypted backup of documents, financial statements, photos, and now screenshots. I added the pub pictures and labeled them Phase 2. Then I went into our shared home office and opened his lock drawer. I already knew the key. He always used the same luggage lock combination, 1988, his birth year. Inside, old pay stubs, expired gift cards, and a receipt for a custom ring. Ordered 5 weeks ago. It wasn't for me. My ring size is a 5.5. This one was for a size 7. I snapped a photo, placed everything back in its exact spot, and sat on the floor of the closet for 15 full minutes trying not to scream. There it was. Undeniable confirmation that he wasn't just using me financially. He was lining up his replacement. That night, I told him I was thinking about redoing the guest bedroom. He looked confused. Why? We barely use it. I don't know, I shrugged. Just feels like time for a fresh start. He nodded too slowly. He was starting to feel it. The shift. The unease. And I had no intention of slowing down now. I waited another 5 days before setting the trap. I told Jordan my parents invited us over for dinner that Sunday, said they wanted to talk about a family investment opportunity. His eyes lit up immediately. He smoothed his shirt collar and asked if he should bring a presentation. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. Instead, I told him, just be yourself. He grinned. Always am. That was the last lie I let slide. Sunday came. I wore a soft blue dress, the one he once said made me look like a CEO and a bride at the same time. He wore the same blazer he'd worn to our vow renewal. My dad greeted us at the door. Warm as always, but more reserved than usual. My mom smiled too tightly. The dining room table was already set. But instead of walking us to it, my father motioned toward his study. Let's have a quick chat first. Jordan hesitated, only for a second, then followed him in like a golden retriever expecting a treat. Inside were 4 chairs. One for Dad, one for Mom, one for me, and one for Jordan. Also waiting was Mr. Ellis, our family's longtime financial advisor. Jordan faltered. Is this about the trust? He asked. You could say that, my dad replied calmly, taking a seat. I sat down across from Jordan and opened the folder I brought. Inside were printouts of text messages to see, screenshots of suspicious financial withdrawals, the receipt for the custom ring, the photos from the pub, and finally, my handwritten transcription of the Cal. I overheard when I came home early. I laid them out one by one like evidence in a courtroom. Jordan's face turned the color of bone. What is this? This, I said, is what happens when your wife isn't as predictable as you think. He reached for the papers, hands trembling. Mads, baby, I can explain. My mother slammed her palm on the table. Don't you dare call her that. He jumped. She never raises her voice. Is this some kind of misunderstanding? He tried again, now sweaty, now shaking. Because I've been under a lot of pressure lately. Some of those texts were jokes. I didn't mean any of that. The vow renewal was brutal. But she ate it up. I quoted it calmly. Is that a joke, Jordan? His mouth opened, closed. No sound. The custom ring? Who's it for? Who's she? Silence. My dad leaned forward, voice low and razor sharp. I welcomed you into this family. Trusted you. You looked me in the eye and told me you loved my daughter. Jordan looked at him with watery eyes. I do love her. I just got lost. I made mistakes. You made a plan, I corrected him. Mr. Ellis spoke next. As of today, Jordan, you've been formally removed from all family-related accounts and legal trusts. You will receive a formal notice in writing. Additionally, divorce papers will be delivered to you tomorrow morning. Jordan turned to me, voice cracking. Madeline, please. Are you really throwing away our marriage over a mistake? No, I said coldly. You threw it away the moment you reduced me to a bank account. He stood there for a long time, just blinking. Then he looked around like he was expecting someone to say this was all a prank. But no one did. Because the show was over. And the actor had finally been exposed. Jordan moved out the next day. He didn't say goodbye. Didn't ask to talk. Just came while I was at work. Took what he could carry in 2 duffel bags. And left the house key on the kitchen island next to a half-eaten protein bar and a note that said, "Please don't give up on us." I threw both in the trash. But that wasn't the end of it. Not even close. Over the next 2 weeks, he launched what I now refer to as his redemption tour. Daily flowers at my office, orchids, sunflowers, even peonies, which he never remembered were my favorite. Late-night texts. Thinking about us. I miss your laugh. Remember our trip to Barcelona? I made mistakes. But my heart was always yours. He even contacted my parents. Told my mom he was deeply broken and asked if she'd talk to me on his behalf. She told him if he ever showed up near our home again, she'd handle it the way a mother bear handles threats. But Jordan wasn't giving up easily. He showed up unannounced outside my yoga studio. Sat in his car for 45 minutes until I came out. Then pretended it was a random coincidence. I just needed to see you, he said, looking genuinely distraught. I stared at him. You saw me every day for 3 years and never once saw the real me. Then I walked away. A few days later, he emailed me a long rambling letter titled, "The Truth About My Heart." It included gems like, "I never planned to fall for you, it just happened." Yes. I was short-sighted in the beginning, but love changed everything. C was a mistake. I thought I wanted excitement. But I want you. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer. We were almost done with the paperwork. He had tried, of course, to demand half of everything. Claimed he helped me build my career and supported me emotionally. Our lawyer countered with financial evidence, text transcripts, and screenshots of him referring to me as predictable and the walking inheritance. At our final mediation, his attorney had the gall to say Jordan deserved compensation for emotional distress. My lawyer responded by playing the audio of Jordan's phone call with C, where he laughed about conning my family and mocked our vow renewal. I looked across the table and watched Jordan's shoulders sag. He knew it was over. There would be no money, no family business, no connections. All of it gone because I came home 2 days early. As we left the meeting room, he stopped me. "Do you think maybe one day you'll forgive me?" I met his eyes. For the first time in weeks, I saw nothing but a hollow man. "I already have," I said. "But that doesn't mean I'll forget." He nodded. Then he turned and walked away alone. That night, I popped a bottle of champagne by myself. Not to celebrate the divorce. Not to mourn the end of a marriage. But to honor the woman who walked through hell with grace, silence, and a spine of steel. Me, Madeline. And I wasn't done rising yet. It's been 6 weeks since the divorce was finalized. 6 weeks since I walked out of the courthouse with a signed decree, a sealed file. And a strange stillness in my chest. Not grief. Not anger. Just silence. Like the calm that comes after a hurricane has ripped through your home, and there's nothing left to do but rebuild. I moved out of the house 3 days after Jordan. Left behind the stainless steel appliances and curated bookshelf we never read from. The furniture he always picked. The bed I used to cry in. I found a loft downtown, exposed brick, creaky wood floors, massive windows that bathed the room in morning sun. It's smaller, sure. But it's mine. Every lamp, every throw pillow. Every piece of artwork was chosen by me and only me. The first night I ate Thai takeout on the floor. No plates. Just a fork, my fingers, and a bottle of wine. I laughed so hard at a ridiculous cooking TikTok I choked on pad thai. No one told me to turn the volume down. No one rolled their eyes at my laugh. It echoed. It filled the space. It was mine. I've started painting again. I pulled my old easel from my parents' garage and set it up near the biggest window. I haven't painted since college. Since before I started building a life that fit someone else's blueprint. My first piece is messy and uneven and full of colors that bleed into each other. It looks like freedom. My parents, God bless them, have gone through their own roller coaster. My dad still struggles to look at me without guilt in his eyes, as if it were somehow his fault Jordan saw him as a checkbook. I told him the truth. You raised me to be smart and strong. That's why I got out. You didn't fail me. Mom, on the other hand, has gone full mama bear mode. She sent me a daily checklist for 2 weeks titled, How to Spot a Gold Digger 101, and has personally vetted every single man I've ever mentioned, including my barista. I'm not dating. I'm not ready. And honestly, I'm not interested. For the first time in years, I'm not performing. Not trying to be the perfect wife, the doting daughter, the woman worth investing in. I'm just existing. And it's enough. As for Jordan, he's back to teaching part-time at some boutique gym on the outskirts of the city. Word is, he's dating a well-connected client who thinks she's found herself a diamond in the rough. I wish her well. No, really, I do. Some lessons you have to learn the hard way. A few days ago, I got a message on Instagram. It was from C. Her real name is Chloe, and apparently she's known Jordan since college. She wanted to clear the air and said she had no idea he was still with me when they reconnected. I didn't respond. Instead, I sent her 3 words. Good luck, sweetheart. Because that's all I have left to say. The chapter is closed. The ashes swept away. The show is over and I am no longer playing anyone's part but my own. Jordan called me predictable. But I bet he never predicted this. That I'd rise. That I'd walk away stronger. That I'd learn to love my own laugh again. And that one day soon I'd forget the sound of his voice entirely. Have you ever uncovered a lie that shattered everything you believed? What would you have done in Madeline's place? Tell me your favorite moment in the comments below.